Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's Thrive in China Roundtable, where we have a wonderful guest speaker, Sally Meyer-Yip from 11K Consulting, who's going to be talking about effective China PR in the digital era, the do's and don'ts. I've seen her presentation and I'm extremely excited for today's talk. Not to mention that it's not me talking for once, it's giving it to somebody else, which is wonderful. So before we start today's session, how the roundtable works, first of all, we're using Zoom meeting. If you run into any difficulties with your platforms, please just try to log off, log back in. And just know that if anything happens between Sally and I, we're both co-hosts. So she has the capability to continue on if I'm logged off. Likewise, if she falls off, it will take about a minute, 2 minutes for the reboot to happen. So just be patient with us if that does occur. This is a 60-minute roundtable. We encourage you all to ask questions, to place comments throughout Sally's presentation today. There will be a Q&A at the end. So do use this time wisely. If you have any doubts whatsoever, just put them in. Likewise, I will be also writing questions down as Sally is speaking today. So, you know, I always say in China, there's never a dumb question. So do go ahead and always ask. The moderator for today is myself. My name is Kristina Koehler-Coluccia. I'm the head of business advisory at Woodburn Accountants and Advisors. And I'm a leading expert into inbound investment into China. So all of my clients are foreign investors that are actually entering the Chinese market, and we assist them with their implementation, their growth, and focus on really scaling up the business as quickly as possible. If you're interested to learn more about what we do, you can just go to woodburnglobal.com to learn more about us. So I'm going to leave it there and allow Sally to take over. I'm going to stop my share. Sally, it's all yours.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining. I'm going to share my screen. Please bear with me for 1 second. So first of all, thank you for making time to join today's roundtable, Effective China PR in the digital era, do's and don'ts. Do feel free to ask me questions at the end of this presentation. Next slide. So the agenda today is to quickly recap why we talk about China. What is the big opportunity in China at the moment? The second part comes to the China PR. What are the do's and don'ts? And then the third part is some real case studies to demonstrate how people are doing PR really well for the Chinese markets. And finally, Q&A. So the China big opportunity, why we care about China. So these are all based on research, not me claiming that. So there's a lot of research actually saying that in 8 years, China will surpass the US to become the world's largest economy in terms of GDP. So despite COVID, despite the current international travel restriction and short-term disruptions, we can still be very hopeful to say that China economy is too big for you not to care. So do be hopeful on China market despite the short-term disruptions. And here are a few statistics to showcase about the huge high net worth individual luxury market in Chinese. If you want to know how much Chinese people have. So we can see that in less than 5 years, China already witnessed 3 digital growth in the millennium population. When we say millionaire population, meaning people who have more than 3 million investable wealth to invest. So already there are 2.3 million people who have this extra cash to invest. And when we say ultra high net worth individual, it means people who have more than $30 million to invest. And already there are around 30,000 ultra high net worth individuals. And the number is going to even increase 35% in the next few years. So we can see that there's still a lot of money among the wealthy Chinese people. And already China is already world's second largest wealth market, around 10% of the international wealth distribution. And what does it mean to people in the West who want to tap onto this wealth? And already they are spending at least 12.5% of the wealth into overseas assets. So that's why we care about getting Chinese customers who will spend money in China and also in overseas opportunities. And exactly, are there any particular sectors that China needs from us, from the West? So interestingly, yesterday I met with the Director and Minister of DIT, Department of International Trade here in the UK, who is now based in Shanghai, and he's traveling in UK. And this is his latest insights, strictly from today. What are the massive opportunities that the West can tap into? What Chinese companies are desperately looking from us? So the first one is creative. Creative meaning anything that can excite Chinese consumers, from art to museum, because there's a huge focus on the nightlife economy. So Chinese government actually want people to go out to spend money in the evening, and anything that can excite them, they want those creative ideas. And I think the West, the UK are very strong at creativity. Second sector is what we call technical and vocational education and training. It can mean from manufacturing skills to restaurant service skills. So there is a huge gap in Chinese market at the moment who needs those kind of professional vocational training. So if you can provide those services, there's an opportunity for you. And the first sector is education. We know that for wealthier Chinese parents, they always quite like to send their children to study overseas. Looking to the UK market, already Chinese students are the biggest overseas market for UK universities. The number of applications haven't slowed down because of COVID. It's already increased by 60% in 3 years. So we know that if you are education provider, whether in China or overseas, there's an opportunity for you. And finally, the consumer goods as well. So anything baby, beauty, healthcare, because the Western product always linked with quality and trust. So if you are in these sectors, I think you are in a very positive situation. There are also other industries that may need your services, but I would say these four are the kind of the top four industry that Chinese people, Chinese company would love to get more from you. And I won't go into this slide in details because it's quite UK and property focus, but just generally in UK, in Europe, because our currency drop, so actually it's cheaper for Chinese people to buy things here in general. And we know that for the property high-end sector, it hasn't slowed down at all. For example, in London, Chinese buyers already account for 15% of overseas purchases here. And because of COVID, actually the number is increasing. And we know that people in China has been stuck for 3 years and then have been locked for 2 months recently. And we know that from social media, and from our own network, people are desperate to travel as soon as they can. And already over the past 2 weeks, we know that on ctrip.com, the increase in booking has already increased by 900%, 9 times, just over the last 2 weeks. So we know that there is a massive opportunity between UK, Europe, and China in the coming months, because if people can travel, they will definitely want to go. And don't stop your activities, don't stop your marketing PR activities because of the current situation in China. Even Chinese company, such as Fusan Tourism Group, they are also targeting Chinese people overseas, because there's a massive opportunity for you also to talk to Chinese people living abroad who are also very highly educated and also very sophisticated consumers for you to target to. So that's the kind of the break picture in terms of why we still care about China in the short term and long term. Next few slides is really focusing on Chinese marketing perspective. What you should do and what you should not do when you try to do your Chinese PR marketing campaign. So I thought I will ask you guys a few questions. Sorry, there's something wrong with this photo. But basically, this is a Mercedes poster 2 years ago. And here they quoted Dalai Lama's saying, say, look at situations from all angles and you will become more open. So do you think this is a good or bad Chinese campaign for Chinese customers? I know you can't talk. Maybe you can just type yes or no in the chat box.
Maybe I can.
Yes.
We can use me as a.
Yes.
But
yes.
I mean, if everybody
yes,
would like to write in the chat box, is it a hit or miss?
Yeah.
I would say it's a miss because it's the Dalai Lama.
Yes, correct, Kristina. You're so spot on. So this is a big no. So Dalai Lama is a taboo in China, basically. So a political figure, but it's a taboo in China. So be very mindful of cultural political situation in China. So while Dalai Lama is very popular in the West, it is not in China. So this is a miss. So don't do that.
And I think this is becoming more and more. It seems to me, and I don't know if it is for you, Sally, or for other people that are on today. I'm just reading more and more about the misses, about people that are just getting the cultural appropriation wrong.
Yes.
And I find that very fascinating. And I do have a question on that, but I'm going to leave it for the Q&A.
Okay, great. So that's the first one. So that's a no. Second, so do you think this is a good or bad PR campaign? So this is from Dolce & Gabbana, having a Chinese celebrity using chopsticks to eat pizza.
Well, I know this was a miss. It affected Dolce & Gabbana a lot.
Yes, correct. Yes. So the reason being, this is not being cultural sensitive, because for Chinese people, we feel that it is quite an insult, as if we don't know how to use fork and knife to eat pizza. So while you try to be creative, but also be very mindful of Chinese culture, otherwise it will have completely opposite effect and very negative impact on your sales and brand image, which can last really long. So next one, do you think this is a good or bad campaign from different giant fashion brands, just by the look and feel of it? This is a slightly difficult one.
I would say it's a hit, but the Balenciaga, I think, is a hit. The other two look very normal. I actually really don't know the answer to this. I have no idea.
Yeah, so basically this is, again, it's a miss because they look very old-fashioned, not really relevant to the modern, sophisticated young generations. While they try to be back to Chinese culture, but then they look like farmers in some way. So it doesn't really work. So again, while trying to play with Chinese culture, but don't go beyond the kind of the basic, because Chinese has become very modern as well. So this is not to do as well. So next one, do you think this is a hit or miss? So this is Burberry Chinese New Year campaign 3 years ago. So they got a lot of different celebrities, big movie star, to have this photo shoot for Chinese New Year.
I would have said, when I saw this on your presentation, I thought it was a hit, but I feel like it might be a miss because all the others are a miss. So I don't know.
Yes, you know how my mind works. Yeah, Kristina. So again, it's a miss in the sense it's not a good PR campaign, because again, Chinese New Year is all about celebration, festival. It's almost like our Christmas here. So it's all about happiness, family reunion. But when you look at this picture, no one is smiling. Everyone looks quite sad. So it doesn't really work for the Chinese New Year spirit when it's all about happiness and celebration. So again, this shows that they don't understand the Chinese culture. So this is not to do. So finally, I think I have one more. So this is Nike, who did this campaign in 2016, again for Chinese New Year. So this one means get rich in Chinese, and this one means good luck in Chinese, and then they put it together as a pair. But then it means getting fat. So do you think this is a good or bad campaign?
I would say pretty bad.
Yes, because we actually don't like to get fed, even though the meaning of each individual word is perfect, but because they don't really understand Chinese language, and then they put it together, it becomes another meaning, which doesn't work at all. So it doesn't mean we are like it become getting fat, which we don't really want. So this is not understanding the Chinese language when you try to do something together. So these 3 slides just to show you what you should not do, 5 don'ts when it comes to marketing.
Sally, do you mind if I interrupt you? I have this question, and I think it's appropriate to bring it in now.
Please, yes.
And this is really, it's a debatable question, right? This is not, I don't think there's a right or wrong here. So I'm not in the marketing industry. I'm not a marketeer. I'm an observer on all of this. Burberry, Dolce & Gabbana, these are huge brands in China, right? These are high luxury brands. Now, as far as I'm aware, most brands, although, you know, most brands on that side, they're going to have their own in-house team in China to formulate these marketing strategies and to formulate these marketing campaigns, or they're going to outsource this to marketing companies in China as well, who are, again, going to create these campaigns and, right, like advertising agencies. Right. I don't believe that with these brands, it's all in-house. So, I mean, these are real cultural misappropriations. How can marketing agencies or even in-house teams, they're the ones who are developing it. So how can this happen?
Yes, this is such a good question. I don't have the answer. So I want to show you that even big brands don't assume that they know everything. And that's one way to assume that you know everything, and just go to the basics, sense check it with local customers before you do things like this. I just want to, by seeing how big brands can still make these simple mistakes, it shows that you can definitely avoid these mistakes just by finding the right local partners to sense check things for you. That's why we keep, even me as a PR person, we keep educating our clients, don't do this, so that they understand. But
do you think do you think it's the brands that are not listening to their partners locally? Or
it can be that when brands become so big, and they may sometimes become a little bit arrogant and assume that they are right, and not really checking things. That can happen. So not just big brands, small brands as well. But I think not just Chinese market, even if you go to Middle Eastern, American, European, Indonesian, Malaysian, we are all having different cultures. So I think the message is that there's no one size fits all approach. Each market is a local market. There's no Asian market. Asian is so big. There's no European market. So Germany and Italy are so different. So I think that's the message, that when we come to local market, we have to be so careful about the local politics, culture, stereotype, and translation, the language itself. So I think these 5 don't also apply for other markets, but for Chinese market, these are very commonly made mistakes when it comes to marketing, branding your product services to the Chinese audience. Should I continue?
Yes, please do. Please do.
So now we start with the horrible things, what not to do. So I want to go back to the basic, in the sense that for Chinese PR, it's all about building your trust, building your thought leadership with the Chinese customers. Why we say trust matters in that sense? Because actually there are a lot of surveys and research show that Chinese people actually use their wallet to show trust. That if they trust you, they will actually buy into your products and spend a lot of money on you. And actually, there's a recent survey to show that trust is more important today than in the past because of COVID, because of how the world has changed. That there was a survey done by Edelman, a big PR agency, saying that 69% of Chinese consumers agree that they believe in more word of mouth recommendation, one-on-one trust even more than before. And 88% even said that they will start using a new brand if they believe how innovative or compassionate that a brand respond during the COVID outbreak until today as well. And in fact, if the other way around, if they think that you are not doing well, not being responsible during COVID, like 84% will actually stop using your brand compared to 40% globally. This statistic just to highlight that if you really want to build that long-term brand image, your sales in China, you have to build that trust first. Trust is a very intangible term. I'm going to explain more in the next few slides how other brands actually do it. So, and here I write down the 5-step simple way. When we say PR, so how do we actually start? What do we need to consider from our professional PR perspective? And we does this for all our clients in luxury property and all different sectors. So it's all kind of a 5-step formula that we use. So first, we need to understand who are you talking to, who are you trying to target, because targeting a millennium generation, young generation is very different from that you are trying to targeting moms or parents. So really understanding and determine who are you trying to target. Second one, communications objective, meaning what do you want to achieve? Is it for short-term sales objective, or is it for long-term brand building? Because that will influence what to do and how to allocate your budget and resources. So be very clear about your objective first. Messaging, meaning that what are the top 3 messages that you want to keep pushing across different channels over time, so that it's stuck to people's mind that, oh, Kristina equal to Chinese expert. So people know it immediately. So you have to be very clear about what the top 1 to 3 messages you want to push consistently. Number 4, to determine what kind of channels do you want to use to talk to this target audience. So to generalize, usually it has to involve your online, offline channels, because that's how we communicate now. We don't just talk online, we don't just talk offline, we actually mix both. So you need to make sure that you are in the right touch point for your target audience, and also set yourself time frame and KPI, because time is not limited. I mean, time is not unlimited. So you have only limited time and limited resources. So be very specific what you want to achieve in Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and what are your target. Is it, I don't know, later we have some numbers for you to think about. Is it like to push out 1 social media campaign, 4 press release, 1 event? So just to give yourself some numbers to work on as well. And then finally to examine, so whether you actually hit your targets. If you don't know how to do it, so can hire PR, freelancer, agency people who is a professional to help you, which will save you time and money in the end, instead of you trying to test the water, not knowing what to do. But to tell you, that's exactly how we approach things for our clients when we want to talk to Chinese high net worth individual people in China, Hong Kong, and China in UK. And then here, the next slide is really what we call the common PR tactics in the digital world. How do you really build that thought leadership? So again, this is not experiment. So we always use these 5 common tactics for all our clients, depending on their target audience. But PR, meaning the media relations side, you want to be seen as the thought leader in the trusted media by your target audience. So for example, for our clients in property, instead of going to property media, we go to the business mainstream press, because they're whereby the Chinese end customers, investor are there. So they may not necessarily just read property media, but also the mainstream one like South China Post in Hong Kong, Forbes China, China Daily, Shanghai Daily. So find ways to talk about yourself in those trusted media platforms. Social media, so Chinese media are massive. Everyone uses social media, but again, it doesn't mean that you have to be on every single social media. It doesn't work. So there are different platforms. So again, understanding each platform audiences, and then understanding your target audience and decide what to do. So as you know, there are WeChat, Little Weibo, Weibo, Douyin, etc. Partnership, meaning this is more creative with businesses and also with celebrity to talk about your brand, to leverage on each other network. And then events is both online and offline. I think now we are more open to online events, but also people still want to meet in person. So try to mix both online and offline throughout the year. Thought leadership, meaning to be a speaker, to run your own leadership papers, events, masterclass, so that you are seen as the expert in your industry. So when people search you on Baidu, they can see your article, can see you speaking, and that's how you really build that trust with people in distance, with people online. So that's like in principle, 5 common metrics when you come to PR marketing. Next one, here I want to show you a good example. So I'll be talking a lot of theory about good and bad PR, but to showcase what, in my mind, I think Tiffany is really a great example when they try to build their brand and trust for the Chinese audience in China as well as Chinese overseas. So if you don't know, Tiffany is a jewelry brand already almost 200 years old from US, and right now China is their second largest market after US, after their home market, and they're pushing very hard on the Chinese market at the moment. What they have been trying to do is to position themselves as the new generation of luxury jewelry brand. They are actually very focused on targeting those younger audiences, meaning the millennials. So they are very clear in terms of their positioning and their target audience, and then come up with the right strategy, online, offline, to talk to these people in China and also Chinese overseas. So they are, because they have money and they are a strong brand, they have a lot of successful celebrity partnership to really boost their publicity and also those emotional ties with consumers. So this is the store in Shanghai, and this one I'm going to talk a bit on how do they recently partner with 18 years old celebrity in US who is half Chinese and half American, who is Olympic gold medal winner, skier. So basically this lady is called Yiling Gu. So she's only 18 years old, but really bold and very individual, Olympics winner. And she recently launched different campaigns for Tiffany, targeting the Chinese audience. And on Tiffany WeChat Weibo account, we can see the lots of successes. This shows that how you find the right celebrity can actually help you to drive your brand awareness and also sales. And also Tiffany has their own Chinese social media account. Little Weibo is China's Instagram. WeChat is what we call China super app. Weibo is like our Chinese Twitter. So they are very strong on social media, which they have been pushing account. Here you can't see the number, but basically if you type hashtag, if people try to search Tiffany, they can easily see like 20 million people discussing about the brand. This just so they're very strong on social media. But their activity doesn't stop online. They are also very strong offline. So even though they're jewelry brand, they are very creative. They have their own cafe in London, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Beijing, to see how they can engage people, engage customer offline, in person. And people like it. People have been posting their afternoon tea experience at Tiffany Blue Box Cafe on social media. So they are very creative to think about the millennium behaviors, what they like, their lifestyle, and then create that atmosphere offline and bring it back to online. So that's why I like Tiffany as a PR case study, because they do it very well, online to offline, offline to online. And also they also very strong in targeting Chinese people overseas. For example, in London next month, they are having a free exhibition at Saatchi Gallery in London to celebrate their 150th anniversary. Again, there's already a lot of buzz on Chinese social media about the exhibition. This is just a very good example to show how they are very strong in terms of PR, celebrity partnership, social media, and also creating offline special exhibitions and even cafe to build that brand awareness and also their own image as the really bold, creative new generation of luxury jewelry brand. So that's one good example I highlighted here. The other one, very selfishly, that I also highlighted, one that we actually deliver for our clients, HBA Residential, over the past 5 years. So we have been doing China PR for the past 5 years. So again, a very integrated online and offline strategy for media, for leadership, events, speaking, WeChat, online, offline. So the client did see that it helps them to build their thought leadership and therefore help them to win sales. Because for new clients, if they search them on WeChat, on Baidu, they can see them easily talking about their design philosophy in interior design. So that's show you while PR doesn't equal to money, it does help you to do your sales because if you don't have a good brand reputation, it's really hard for you to do your sales. So that's why it's fundamental to keep your positive brand image in order to win clients. So finally, my last slide, a lot of talking. So here, what we say, 10 things you can do now. So really, these are tips for you to think about how you can do your Chinese PR or get someone to do it for you. It's not an easy process. That's why we exist. But if you want to have a goal, this is how we approach things. No secret for you. We share how we do things for our clients, starting with our messages, target audience, to really develop what we call Chinese press kit with your key information, press release images, find who are your media influencer target list, really find the angles that will work for your media, find suitable roadshow conferences, events, that you want to go to, that you know your target audience will be there to talk about your insights, speaking opportunities, and also relevant interest group and people to join in order to get yourself known in your target audience. I think that's it for my little presentation. Thank you for listening. And here is a Q&A session. If you have any questions for me, please. Yeah, I think
there we go.
Kristina,
I'm muted. I'm on mute. Thank you, Sally, so much. Like Sally said, if you guys have any questions, please insert them into the chat box and we will get to them. In the meantime, I always like to know what people's biggest takeaway is from a roundtable. So if you want to add that as well, don't be shy to do that. Sally, I've written a few questions down. So if you don't mind, as you were talking, I wrote some stuff down that I would love to have a discussion with you on. You were looking at the opportunity of China and obviously looking at stats that are highlighting what's coming in the next 8 years. I think for a lot of people, it's interesting to know what's happening right now. And we were talking about this right before we went live. What does China look like today on the 20th of July? What is the current situation? What is your feel? I'll add my 2 cents, but I'd love to hear what you're feeling.
Yes, I think the worst has definitely passed. So
at least we hope so.
Yes, and I think China is such a resilient country. Like even my colleague in Shanghai, so I've been in regular conversation with my colleague in Shanghai. Yes, that's what they said. The worst has passed, and they are. I mean, people are very resilient. They always bounce back stronger than before, which is also true. The sentiment is that people are actually not that scared about COVID. What they more scared about is actually the implications if you get COVID in terms of doing all the testing, being stuck at home,
isolation, so the quarantine facilities.
Yeah, so people are actually more frustrated about this than getting COVID. So actually the good news is that they are not so scared about COVID. It's just that hopefully the government will relax the measures a bit, and it's just that thing hasn't come yet. While for us, a lot of opportunities that we are focusing for our clients are more Chinese overseas, because Chinese overseas.
But you were mentioning that you pivoted yourself, and is the pivot because you were focusing on Chinese individuals in China, but is the pivot because people can't get abroad, or why did you pivot?
Yes. So before COVID, a lot of work, I would say 70% of work is still focusing on Chinese people in China. But because of COVID, because people are still stuck in China, people can't travel very easily. We actually, over the past year, we have shifted 70% of our work actually focusing on Chinese in UK, because they are still here, they are still active, and they are still the influencers for their friends, family, investors back in China. So while you may be worrying about China is not opening up, but still things are happening, and there's so much inbound investment, for example, into UK. So I think it's really finding what is the movement this moment, and then see how your services products can be relevant to the situation.
I think that's a really interesting concept that I have not actually touched on this year in terms of the roundtable events. But I know a lot of consumer brands who actually are triggered to do more in China because of the amount of Chinese buyers that are based abroad buying their products.
Correct.
And that's a trigger for them to say, oh, this is interesting. If the Chinese that are abroad are buying my products through my website that is abroad, maybe this is something we can do more of in China, right? Do more marketing initiatives and whatnot. I'll just share my 2 cents right now on the current situation in China. I mean, April, May, and pretty much the first half of June were rubbish. I'm not going to dust it lightly. It was a very negative period where actually our focus was very much on our clients that are already in China and survival. There was zero product movement for our clients. Inventory was stuck at warehouses. Nobody was working. Everybody was literally stuck at home. Nobody could go to a supermarket. It was just you were stuck and confined in your house. And as a point to that, obviously nobody then is really interested to go into China. Nobody is interested in investing or doing any of that. Since the last week of June, though, and I guess since, the media has portrayed that the lockdowns are over, in reality, they're not over. There are still a lot of districts in China that are still in lockdown. So I also don't want to pretend that it's completely over. It's not. It's picking up. People can go to the office now. Things are moving along quite nicely. And I'm really hoping that with August and September popping up, really by the end of the October national holiday, it will truly be open again. And I'm hoping also that after the elections in November, there will be new policies in place that will be much more beneficial, crossing my fingers. And hopefully the zero COVID policy will be removed, but who knows? Who knows? It's still a waiting game to see where that goes. Sally, on your slide about the high net worth individuals, you said there were 2.3 million high net worth individuals, about 30,000 ultra high net worth individuals. Where are all of these people based? Are they in China? Are they overseas? What is the tendency with this group specifically?
Yes. So they are all from research reports, and they are people based in China. But be very mindful that these people are very international. They have global businesses. They have assets overseas. But they are Chinese nationals in China.
So I think that's also key for people to realize, is that it's a very small percentage that's actually abroad. I mean, the majority of them are still in China if you're looking to promote. It's just that they're traveling, well, not under this pandemic, but they're traveling abroad, traveling here and there and whatnot. And then one thing I just wanted to highlight two comments as well for people,
please.
because this is something that I also emphasize a lot. You had a slide up there regarding your industry about Chinese Hong Kong investors investing abroad. And I just want to highlight to people, Sally is able to pivot her business to focus on overseas Chinese investors because she does data mining and she does research. This was something that was truly highlighted to me during the presentation, is the amount of research she's done herself on her own clients and what the tendencies and trends are. I say this all the time. If you don't do your data research and you don't do data mining, how can you know how to focus on your marketing and your PR? If you just generalize to a community of 1.4 billion people, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get any traction whatsoever. And the other point that I wanted to highlight was on the page about what to do. Realize how labor intensive this is. When you are developing campaigns for China, it's not just you delegate it to a company and you hope they do a good job. That's already your wrong first step. Because like I asked earlier, Sally, you know, there are still companies out there in China that do cultural misappropriations, or, you know, they still do stuff wrong. And if you don't pay attention yourself to what they're doing, or even to do, and I don't know how this works, but test your campaigns to a small focus group to see if it works, you're going to make mistakes. And then you're spending a lot of your campaign dollars on things that are wrong. And what I see is it just leads to frustration. It leads to the fact that you then exit the market because you just feel like everybody's cheating you. But in actual fact, it's you not paying attention to your business. So I just wanted to highlight these two comments as well. Irina had a question about, is product placement a good tool for PR in China?
Yes, thanks, Irina, for your question. I would say it's only a short-term, one-time blast. It's not going to last impression or trust factor per se. So, I mean, we never do product placements for clients because we know that it's not going to make a long-term impact on your brand. It's just pushing one product, one sale. So again, depends on what you want. If you are just looking for one-off sales, then yes. But if you want to do China properly and really build your brand awareness and build that trust, then I won't even waste money on the product placement, but have a long-term strategy to do it properly.
I think when I see my consumer brand clients, let's say in the F&B sector, they use KOLs as one-off huge sales promotions. I mean, I had one client who within 1 minute sold 6 containers worth of beverages in China. But their ultimate goal is to continuously do these KOL campaigns to get the recurring clients to come in. The one-off first-time KOL is kind of a product launch, if you will, or something to gain attraction. But their goal is ultimately to also get recurring clients off of that. Sally, I don't know if you've got any points to make on the KOL aspect.
Yes, I think KOL is like media. You have to do your research to make sure the KOL is credible, genuine to promote your products. And KOL can also charge different pricing. So it's not just like randomly find someone that on social media, but actually to really less is more, to find really the right KOL, right media representations for your brand. And if you can build that long-term relationship with that KOL as well, because they will be willing to work harder for you, and they will also benefit from promoting you to have that brand association.
Right. There's a question that's come in from Sarah.
Yes.
Her organization provides mental health care services. And the business has been growing in Ningbo, but there is still a growing need for this. how best is it to approach the market in terms of the mental health care services? That's a pretty broad question to ask on a roundtable event, Sarah. That is quite specific. You might want to have a one-to-one discussion with Sally on that directly. But Sally, I don't know if you've got any comment on that from the top of your head.
Yeah, I'm not an expert on healthcare sector, but from my business perspective, not even PR, that you probably need to talk to some local healthcare partners in China to start the conversation. And like Kristina, do your research to see what is the market size here and what are exactly the gaps that you may be able to fit into that demand or solve the problem. So I think before you think about PR, it's actually more a business research piece for you to look into this sector. That's just from my business hat on.
And if you've already done that, Sarah, and you feel that it's a very sensitive topic, then probably the best way is to go via business partners in China who have already got a solid network and reputation to spread the word of the services that you offer. And then as it grows, you can always do, PR initiatives to promote what you're doing. But again, very niche within clinics, within hospitals or other areas as well. I would almost say, again, from the top of my head, I don't know if you're looking for the children to be your clients or if you're looking for I don't say business partners, but doctor partners or clinics who can then utilize or delegate your services to then their patients. All right, there's nothing else that's popped in. I think we can leave it at that. So Sally, thank you but just to finish off, before I finish, just quickly, you guys can look at these slides later on, but I just want to highlight, we've got one more session before I'm off for summer holiday, which is next week, which is tapping into China's trade opportunity through traditional and e-trade models. This is really going to be encompassing all trade business models that are possible in China. So if you're interested, then pop into that one next week as well. Sally, thank you so much for coming in, for presenting today. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody has had a good feedback. And that we are recording this session. So if you want to watch the recording later on, you're more than welcome to. So Sally, thank you.
Thank you so much, Kristina. Thank you, everyone.
For everybody else, thank you so much. Have a great day and goodbye.
Goodbye.